speaking of that, if we can, I want to bring in a clip from someone who said exactly that on the House floor. Let's listen to what Congresswoman Moore had to say about the current state of America and its politics.
This is not normal. We're not having a normal session. Mr. Speaker, the House is on fire. The House is on fire. There is nothing legal or constitutional that is going on. We have unelected billionaires running the country. And this is not a political grab for power. It's a crime. I marched into our Speaker of the House's office to try to meet with the Treasury Secretary to ask them why they were committing crimes, why there was unchecked authority over Treasury data, to stop doing it, why they needed to do this, why they needed to surveil, penalize, or control this financial access. And the Speaker told me he had no idea what they were doing. The Speaker of the House does not know what they are doing. We need to stop acting like things are normal. It is not normal.
It is. And I think that we are if there was ever a time where people should be held to account, we should be held to account on what we put on the podcast. Like you said, Andrew, people are like, what do we do? Every day I'm wrestling with that. Every day I'm trying to make sure that I am serving the needs of the people, that I am providing factual information, that we do that on this podcast. What Gwen Moore said struck a chord, I think, for so many of us, because all we're saying is we're seeing members of Congress talking about dropping bills. You don't even know if that bill gonna get passed. You don't even know if you're gonna actually be in session next week. And if the bill does pass, if this president is gonna sign it into law. That's where we are. So I think that we do, Tiff, I was so grateful in the conversation with Maxwell and the things that you've been saying along the way, that it is an authoritarian regime. The things that we've been questioning, if it's a coup, if it's a constitutional crisis, the answer is a resounding yes. It is not normal. So how do you respond in a normal way to something that is not only not normal, it's very dangerous?
Well, I want to say, because you brought up constitutional crisis, that you did a live this week. If you all haven't checked it out, it's available on our YouTube page and wherever you get your podcast, a solo pod on the constitutional crisis. But I do appreciate what you said, Andrew, about ego. Get ego out the way, because it's not just I've heard several members of Congress, we were talking about this in our chat, Angela, members of Congress complaining about how they're being perceived. And I think that's such a good piece of advice, Andrew. It's like, hey, it's not about your ego right now. It's dire times and people
you're
are
the
suffering.
Institution.
Right. You are the institution, and what are you doing? But I think what you're bringing up, Angela, is this fight. So you're, in your head about what can we do on the podcast? That's doing something. I'm running out of advice of what to tell people who are, what do we do? Because I will be honest with you guys, and it's probably not the most responsible thing to say on this podcast. But I do think there are some areas where I feel a bit defeated. I really don't know how to combat the world's richest people with access to all of our data when the media is completely complicit, when the institution seems to be bending the knee, when everyone seems to be capitulating to this administration proactively. The private sector is bending the knee. And it's just the only
Taylor
thing I keep coming
booed,
back
but
to.
He gets embraced. Right? At a football
Well, he was booed. He got booed. He got booed. They edited it out. They edited it out of the replay, but he did get booed. But I guess my only solution has been, can we build insular? And I don't know how to do that. Can we build an ecosystem amongst ourselves, like a real live ass Wakanda in America, where if you ain't rock with us, if you ain't vote like us, then you can't come in here. This is our area of safety and being self-sufficient. And I don't know how to do that. I think there's a way to do it, because the Black Panthers did it. I would like to explore that, because I don't have faith in the institution. Angela, you said no. You didn't say this on the pod. You said this in the chat. Midterms. I don't want to hear nothing about no midterms.
Nothing.
If you stop, right?
That be no election for you. Thank you. Where we're at right now, there's not about. They just disbanded the election security team. There is not about to be an election if we don't fight right now, and that's the thing. Right. We've been trained, and Andrew, I love what Andrew said too about dream defenders. I want to get back to that too. But we've been trained in leadership, to have a long-term vision, to have a long-term plan. I think that we are ill-equipped to deal with emergency and crisis for the most part. I don't think that's everybody, but I think the fact that there has to be crisis management demonstrates, right, that people are never really equipped for crisis. I don't understand how we could see how fragile democracy is, whether we're talking about Bush v. Gore or now, and not realize that this is it's all dependent upon people acting with integrity, on believing and abiding by what the Constitution says. We literally elect people and hope they will do right. There are no other checks and balances except for they will check themselves to be in alignment with the 3 co-equal branches of government. That's it. So it's always hanging in the balance, and I think that is the part that is so scary to me. It's like this man has decided. JD Vance, I'm at church. I said this on the solo pod yesterday. I'm at church. JD Vance posts a tweet that's like, "Who gonna check me, boo?"
Basically,
I know what the judge said, but who gonna check me, boo? Make me, bish. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, we know that's what they thought, but now he put it out here to digest it. And then he didn't just put out that one tweet. He put out a few subsequent tweets making the argument by which Elon Musk, who I know we're going to get to, from Doge, which is like a nothing entity that now has all power over the government, arguably more power than Donald Trump himself. That is the era we're in right now. Where
the fact is people think the courts are going to save us. Like, the courts are not what right now. That's the front line of defense. But think about it, Angel. By the time you get to SCOTUS, SCOTUS is bought and sold. What did you say about Clarence Thomas here, Hoochie? Like, they are all loyal to this administration. And I also have to say, for JD Vance to be so emboldened, and really he's the weakest link. It's
for
like,
sure.
Your boy told you you're not even in the line of succession.
Couldn't even endorse you.
Right. He's already said it didn't matter. Yeah. And to see this press conference with President Musk and Donald Trump in that Oval Office, it looks, I have a theory that if the media were to pursue this idea of Elon Musk is really the president, then we would see this relationship fracture. Donald Trump does not want that. His ego is so fragile. He does not have a big ego, if you know what I'm saying. And it's so obvious. And he couldn't handle that kind of storyline that he is not really the person in charge. The same way it happened with DeSantis. Those two were like this. Right. And then he didn't like it anymore. We've seen this happen over and over again. The same thing can happen with Elon Musk. And it looked like that. Elon Musk was speaking over him. He had his son all in the Oval Office. Like, they should have never gave you money. Your couch. That's what it looked like with his son playing all in the desk. Donald Trump did not look amused. And Elon Musk was literally standing over him.
Towering.
Donald Trump looked like Reek. And Elon Musk looked like Ramsey Bolton. Not even Joffrey Landis, looked like Ramsey Bolton.
You better bring that.
I'm a citizen of King's Landing, Bill.
Oh, Lord. But look, we got to put a pause on that and come back to it, because I'm a diehard Game of Thrones. I'm a throner.
Okay, well, then can I just say this really quickly?
I didn't know what y'all was talking about. I was just
this.
smiling and nodding.
Oh, well, listen, Donald Trump is Reek. I will say this, Andrew, because this is one of the best lines of the series. When there was a scene where two people are talking and he says, you would rather see this place burn so you could rule the ashes and we would all fall in a pit of chaos. And a guy, Littlefinger, responds and says, chaos is not a pit, my friend. Chaos is a ladder.
That's
and it was the way
right.
And it was the music and the way that scene played out. This is this administration.
That's absolutely
Chaos
right.
is not a pit. It is a ladder.
That's
and
right.
it is what they will use to climb their way to the top and rule the ashes, because some people want to lead, others want to rule. This administration, they want to rule.
They want to rule. And your point around, this is why day after day they create crisis. This is why they want our heads on a swivel. This is why they are declaring states of emergency in various parts of the United States against various people on various issues. what the hell we got to be afraid of Canada for? They ain't got nuclear weapons. I mean, they're our neighbor and our friend, but why in the world have people been revved up around Donald Trump's words? Because he's just declared that there's a crisis here, and we're overpaying, and our military is being suffocated by China, and this. Let me tell you, we have to, yes, be discerning, and you know, I like Tiffany's phrase of covering Trump is like catching confetti, but we cannot cede the ground. If I had a message to the Democrat, we cannot cede the ground. If this man is going 24/7 with his message, we best be there answering, or at least putting the people on a new message, on a different message, interpreting what it is that they heard, because they didn't hear it quite properly, because the man is a liar in chief more than anything else.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeart Radio, visit the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.